For more on this issue, I want to bring on our next guest, Alison Centofante, who serves as the Director of External Affairs for Live Action. So, Alison, thank you very much for joining us today. A very big day for the pro-life movement. The March for Life, of course, dates back several years, and it continues to gain steam every single year, which can't be said about a lot of the demonstrations that we see nowadays. So you were on the ground today. Explain to us a little bit what the mood was like in the nation's capital.
Thanks so much for covering this, and well said. Today was a historic day for many reasons, not only because we saw the first sitting president address the March for Life for the first time, but also the crowd size is enormous. I've just heard multiple reports from different people, some who even had an aerial view of the march saying, this has got to be the biggest I've ever seen. So unfortunately, National Park Services doesn't take an official head count, but it's got to be the hundreds of thousands. It's amazing to see the response, the turnout, and it's always been big, as you know, because it's the National March for Life, and people are committed to this cause. But because the president decided to come, I think it drew a lot more media attention. I think a lot more people became aware of the opportunity to come and stand up for life, and they did that today, and it was amazing. The president had a great speech. He stayed on message, which was good, talking about the importance of preborn children and protecting women that are in unplanned pregnancies.
And Alison, you bring up the idea, too, that this event doesn't necessarily get the same media coverage as even some smaller events. I mean, we could think about the Women's March, for example, that has seen dwindling participation ever since it started just a couple of years ago. The March for Our Lives, the anti-gun issue, those are also big movements, get a lot of media attention. But this is one that doesn't get the same media attention. And you say that it's because this year that President Trump showed up, where people are finally starting to at least put it on TV. I mean, we know that we covered it on One American News. You may see it on Fox News. You probably won't see it on CNN or MSNBC, ABC, all those networks too much. So why is it that President Trump was the first Republican to show up to this event, acknowledging the fact that prior Republican presidents have also been pro-life?
Absolutely. I mean, look, the beauty of where we live, the beauty of our government is that we are set up to support people coming together and protesting their right to free speech. And that can come in different sizes, different shapes, different causes. But the March for Life has been 46 years strong. You said this in your intro, from the year after Roe v. Wade was passed. And so it is. I think people were surprised to find out that it's taken so long for a president to come speak. But we applaud the fact that it's happening right now. And that's only because the pro-life movement has continued to speak out in truth and in love and say this is the greatest human rights abuse of our time. Women, countless women and men have been hurt by the abortion industry. We have the stories, we have the prenatal science that shows us inside the womb. You mentioned viability. That's an ever-changing goalpost. These things lead people to become more and more pro-life. And I will say, 2019 was a wild year for the pro-life and pro-abortion movement. You had people like Governor Northam, like Governor Cuomo, and others speak out in support of abortion in a way that made Americans wake up and say, actually, I think they might be much more out there on this issue than I am. Most Americans have some sort of nuanced view, a problem with either late-term abortion. They want some sort of restrictions. There's caveats to their view. But that's not the view of so many unfortunately, on the Democrat side that are 100% pro-choice, as Governor Cuomo says, for abortion through all 9 months. And I was actually just looking at the analytics of Google and what people are searching. And after those incidents, after people are making those statements, these big politicians, it leads people to go get educated on the abortion issue, on the industry, what the funding looks like. Are women actually taken care of in that way? And so that's a good thing. People are waking up. And some of the biggest shifts we're seeing are in Democrats under the age of 45. It's very moving to me, especially today since we had Senator Katrina Jackson. She's a beautiful pro-life Democrat from Louisiana saying, look, this should be a unifying issue. We should all stand up for life. And so we back that at Live Action. We're nonpartisan. We want everyone to be on that stage and ending abortion and protecting women.
And I know that one part of this movement, too, is about bringing people out to show their support for the pro-life movement, but as you said, to also bring some education to people who may not necessarily already be part of the movement. I mean, it's one of the beauties of, I guess, getting it on media is that people who otherwise aren't at that event are now learning about that event. But another part of that movement, too, from people that we've talked to, is about pushing policies that support that movement. We heard President President Trump today referenced what his administration is doing, such as defunding Planned Parenthood, pushing other policies, for example, that would de-incentivize abortions. What else are you really looking for in regard to this movement from a policy perspective?
Well, 2020 has huge legislative possibilities. As you mentioned, the president has done some really great things in the Mexico City policy. He's defunded about $60 million from Planned Parenthood through the Title X funds, but there's a lot more to be done. There's a lot more his administration can do, and we're so lucky to have a pro-life president, pro-life vice president, and many people within the administration who are pro-life, and they get this, but time is of the essence. We have to move urgently on things like, right now, there's a push to make the abortion pill readily available at college campuses, so you could get it as easily as a bag of chips. This abortion pill, according to the FDA, has killed 22 women at least and caused countless thousands of other issues. I mean, right now we have an opportunity with this administration as pro-lifers to say what we want and to demand action, and they're listening. The fact that the president showed up today means they're listening. So I just am encouraged. I want to encourage the pro-life movement to keep up the fight, keep speaking out, keep sharing, videos and messages with your family, your friends, your members of Congress, your state reps, because it's changing hearts and minds to figure out ways to come together and say, how do we actually look out for children? How do we protect the most vulnerable among us? Up on stage today with President Trump was Alveda King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s niece.
Right.
And it's so amazing to think that she gets to stand up there and say, look, we fought for this one civil rights and abuse and we won, and here I am going to fight for the next one. So those powerful stories, those voices are really needed.